I honestly wasn't too surprised by the fact that they found that like more student athletes were religious than people who weren't student athletes. Sports are very Christian. Like Tim Tebow, he was like really known for being a very active Christian. Bryce Harper is LDS, married in the temple, and has like a ridiculous contract with the Philadelphia Phillies right now. I'm actually studying journalism and sports media for my major at BYU. I call games for KSL Sports Rewind. I grew up worshiping BYU and BYU sports.
My family, they're big University of Utah fans. Yep.
Oh.
Uh-oh. Shouldn't have said that.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Saints Unscripted. I'm Wilson. I'm one of your hosts today, along with David. And today, I'm super excited about the topic that we're going to be breaking down because we're talking about LDS athletes, we're talking about sports and religion. So, going pretty excited. I know that David is super pumped about what we got going on today.
I am out of my element here. I'm also subbing in as a host today because the host that was going to come is sick. So I'm very unfamiliar with what we're going to be talking about specifically and generally. So this is going to be great.
Well, this is going to be...
Wilson knows what he's talking about, though.
I think it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
To begin, well, we should probably talk about the study that we're going to be talking about. I want to give a brief history of our experience.
I'm really looking forward to that.
Our credentials. Okay. Maybe let me tell you about the study because I'm not going to be talking very much this episode.
Break it down. What do we got?
So this was a study through Baylor University. What they were studying was the religiosity of student athletes versus non-student athletes. So I'm going to read a snippet of their abstract just so you have a better idea of what we're dealing with. It says, our analysis features data from 884 senior students at a private, religiously affiliated NCAA Division I university. Comparing student athletes to non-athletes, we found that student athletes scored higher than non-student athletes on religious beliefs, religious behaviors, and sense of religious identity, which, as far as I'm aware, was kind of contradictory to what they were expecting to find. Which I think it's kind of an interesting find as well. But anyway, tell me, Wilson, about your experience in athletics so we can get a feel for, what your credentials are here.
So growing up, like my number one sport was baseball. My dad played baseball his entire life and like is obsessed with baseball. And so he kind of raised me the same way. So played T-ball when I was 3, played baseball ever since, played it all through high school. I also played tennis in high school and I love that. Kind of like played tennis in the fall, baseball in the spring, and that was super fun. And then I've played basketball with my friends, played a lot of football growing up. I love ultimate frisbee now. So pretty much like if there's a ball involved, like
you're there.
Exactly. Like it's a good time. Like I love it. So love sports, love watching sports. I'm actually studying journalism and sports media for my major at BYU. So I work for BYU Sports Nation. Like I call games for KSL Sports Rewind. Like I do a lot of sports. So
Dang.
Love it.
Are you like on air on Sports Nation?
I'm not on air. I work in production for Sports Nation.
Okay.
But then I will call some games for Sports Rewind sometimes.
What do you mean call some games? What does that mean?
Like, because like whenever you're watching, like,
like
the game.
Commentate?
Yeah, like the commentary, like play-by-play or color.
Really?
Mm-hmm. It's been super fun.
On like BYU TV?
Not on BYU TV. On like, they have like a streaming service called KSL Sports Rewind.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you said KSL. That's right.
So for like high school football games and baseball games and stuff.
Cool.
So it's a good time.
Is it only on the radio or is it broadcast?
It's like streaming.
Streaming online.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But we can see your face there.
No.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
You're watching the game, I guess.
Yeah, you got the game. Yeah, they want to see the game. They don't want to see
Wilson's face.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
They get enough of that here, so.
Okay, so you're deep into it.
Yes.
Since you were a kid.
Yes, since forever.
All right. My turn.
Break it down. What do we got?
I did Little League.
Okay.
For several years.
Okay.
I did a lot of baseball. And I think whatever is like a step up from Little League, a little step up from Little League,
like
slightly bigger league. I don't know. I did tennis in high school.
There you go.
And I didn't like contact sports, probably because I'm basically made out of paper. So I don't think I would be very good at
Makes it a little tough.
contact sports. I didn't like, getting too physical with people. So I did the distance ones like tennis or baseball. And I did tennis for a couple of years in high school. And that's pretty much the extent of my experience. I'll play pickleball with my father-in-law every once in a while.
Pickleball is a good time. I'm pretty
Yeah.
much obsessed. Like, I'm hooked.
Here's the
Like,
thing.
it's dope.
I'm not a terrible athlete. I'm sure in some. Oh, I did flag football as well. So
There you go.
almost contact. But I was really good at flag football as a kid.
Yeah.
But no, I'm not. And I'm not just trying to salvage my athletic reputation here. I'm not a bad athlete. I just don't like contact sports as much.
That's fair. Getting hit does kind of suck.
Yeah.
So, like, it's like a reality of sports, but like it also like it's not necessarily enjoyable.
Yeah.
Well,
if
for
people
some
are
people
playing
it
a
is.
game of ultimate frisbee, I'll jump in there. Like, I'm not like gonna reject things, but I didn't get as deep into sports as you have,
This is
which
fair.
I'm sure is extremely surprising to people that know me. But anyway, yeah. So what are we talking about today, Wilson? Tell us what we're gonna get into first here.
Well, I feel like just like jumping off from like that study that you brought up, I honestly wasn't too surprised by the fact that they found that like more student athletes were religious than people who weren't student athletes. Just because I feel like a big part of the culture is, I don't know, sports are very Christian. I feel like there have been some pretty like notable Christian figures within sports. Like, I don't know, like Tim Tebow he was like a Heisman winner. He led Florida to national championship back in like 2015.
Oh yeah,
And
Tim
like
Tebow. Yep.
he, because I mean,
It was a good year.
I'm sure you're locked into that whole run.
Brother Tebow. Is he a member?
He is not a member, no.
Brother from a different faith, Tebow.
He was like really known for being a very active Christian. Like after he would score, he had always like get down on one knee and like praying kind of like that. Like it was like his iconic kind of pose. And so I feel like it's pretty uncommon to see an athlete without a Bible verse in their bio or without someone who like doesn't have like a cross painted on their face, like in like face paint or something. Like I feel like that is pretty commonplace within sports. So I wasn't overly surprised, but I just think it's cool personally because I feel like as an athlete, especially when you're on a national scale, it can be really easy to get kind of caught up in the notoriety, get caught up in the fame. But a lot of times, whenever these athletes are devout Christian, LDS, whatever it may be, a lot of times they're attributing a lot of their success on their performance to God, to their families. And like they maintain these humble Christian values despite the fact that they are these national world renowned athletes. So I think it's really cool. I love that.
I was kind of surprised by this outcome, and I think the researchers were as well, probably because they're nerds and I'm a nerd. And I don't know, I think that from like, because you've got like the people who really, at least in like high school, you've got the cliques, right?
Of course.
And you got the people who are like really into sports,
Uh-huh.
and then the people who are into other things, right? And I think from the perspective, this is generalizing, of course, the perspective of the people in other things, it's like, these are just jocks that
They're just stuck up, full of themselves.
Yeah. Or even like in college, when I think about like people that are recruited for like BYU's sports teams, like I have had the thought before, like, oh, they're not recruited because of their strong faith. They're recruited because of their athletic skills, which obviously makes sense when you're putting together an athletic team. But it has like caused me to be under the impression that maybe those those athletes on those teams might be less religious because, they're there because they're, I don't know, getting a hefty paycheck or something. I don't know how that works among sports teams, but so it's enlightening and refreshing to me, and maybe a call to repentance for me to see kind of this kind of outcome in a study like this.
Well, it totally makes sense, honestly, like why you would think that, just because at least when it comes to high school sports, you can get pretty far in just talent alone, right? But so like, some of the people who would be really good at high school sports who would be caught up in those cliques and that kind of thing wouldn't necessarily need to be good people per se to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to succeed at a higher level, at like a collegiate level, or especially a professional level, you have to put in a lot of work and a lot of dedication.
Mm.
And I feel like those values align a lot with people who are religious, people who are Christian, because like
you have to give yourself to something.
Exactly. You can't just be caught up and you can't just be full of yourself. Obviously, there are people who are and who still work really hard, right? And they work hard, and so they have that level of confidence. But for the most part, it takes a certain level of discipline that I feel like is also pretty akin to like discipleship, like covenant keeping, or whether it's outside of LDS faith, right? Whether it's just like to baptism or commandments, like that sort of discipline aligns very well with the discipline that you need to be a successful athlete.
Interesting. So you're kind of saying like maybe being a disciple of football helps you. It makes it a little easier to be a disciple of Christ, or being a disciple of Christ maybe lends itself to more easily being a disciple of football or baseball or whatever.
Definitely. I think it goes hand in hand. Like just like the values there, like yes, it's like two different worlds, but I think the values like coincide and like will make you successful in both.
And being part of a team, I think that probably has a lot to do with it.
For sure, because you have to be selfless. Like we've all heard about, there's no I in team. Like if you're just out there for yourself, you can only get so far. But if you want to succeed with the team, right, you've got to work with them. You have to love them. You have to work together. You can't just be in it for yourself. Which again, pretty clear, like similar values there, right?
Yeah.
So
who are some of the LDS athletes that what are the names buzzing around in Wilson's mind when it comes to LDS athletes?
Well, there's like a million, because like
wow.
Well, not okay, maybe not like
that
literally
is a high
million
percentage of LDS members.
But there are a ton. Obviously, like I grew up worshiping BYU and BYU sports. So,
don't say worship; you're gonna get roasted.
Oh my, sorry. Really liking and following.
There you go.
BYU sports.
My family, they're big University of Utah fans. Yep. Uh-oh. Shouldn't have said that. Shouldn't have said that.
Really?
Hey, didn't President Monson go to University of Utah? Didn't he graduate from there?
I mean, President Nelson did, but like...
There you go.
But, and like... It's...
oh no, what have I done?
That's really tough.
Well, I hope that this doesn't affect our relationship in any way.
It might. I'll try hard not to let it. But you went to BYU, right?
I did, yeah.
Okay, well then, no.
Not for the sports. I didn't go to a single BYU football game the entire time I was a student at BYU, except I think one game between BYU and University of Utah.
And who did you cheer for?
University of Utah.
While you were going to BYU?
Yeah.
You're paying BYU money to go there.
Yeah.
And you're cheering against them?
Well, not cheering against BYU, but cheering for the University of Utah.
Exactly. If you're cheering for the University of Utah, you're cheering against BYU. That's how it works.
If you're not with us, you're against us.
Exactly.
Well,
there's a line in the sand, David.
That sounds like
clear
Sith ideology if I've ever heard it.
Which side are you on?
The
red.
I guess University of Utah. I'm on for academics. I'm all BYU. For sports, University of Utah.
I was trying
out of respect for my heritage. Wilson, are you going to insult my family history here?
I don't know if I want to make this connection. So pretty much a lot of BYU grads, a lot of like BYU athletes who have played professional sports are usually LDS, right? But one notable one who didn't go to BYU, who barely went to college, who I absolutely, not worshipped, really liked and followed as a child
crush on.
And as a yes.
There you go.
So Bryce Harper is LDS, married in the temple, has been quoted in General Conference, really cool guy, and has also won 2 National League MVPs and has like a ridiculous contract with the Philadelphia Phillies right now, and is currently like leading them to a playoff run, which is like pretty cool.
And maybe you guys didn't know this, but everyone knows that Bryce Harper is a baseball player.
Yes, he did play baseball.
And I did not just learn that a few minutes before we started recording. I've heard his name a lot, though. I have heard his name. I just forgot baseball.
I'm sure he gets tossed around because His story is actually really interesting because if you look at his personality, he has definitely developed and grown a lot.
Hmm. Is
Because
that code for saying he was kind of a jerk at some point and now he's better?
honestly, yes. Like I'm
Happens
biased.
to all of us.
I'm biased because like I've been a fan of him, so I always kind of gave him the benefit of the doubt.
Hmm.
But especially early in his career, like he was kind of a punk.
Hmm.
Like he got into fights, like he would yell at umpires because he came up into the league. He was like he was 19 whenever he made
Dang.
his MLB debut, and he won Rookie of the Year that year. He was 19
Wow.
years old. Like he dropped out of high school to enter junior college early so that he could get drafted early at 17, cook through the minors like super fast. So like he kind of had all this pressure on him and all these expectations because ESPN named him like the LeBron James of baseball. Like, and he had never seen a pitch of professional baseball. Like, so before he was drafted, people thought he was going to be like this incredible athlete. And so he had all this pressure riding on him for a long time. And so obviously with that sort of notoriety comes a lot of haters too.
Hmm.
So you can see like definitely early on in his career, he's trying to like, he's playing with a chip on his shoulder.
Yeah.
He's like, had it like, you know, a bit of a temper, like got into some fights and like had to defend himself. But it's really cool to kind of see like how he's grown and matured because he went from being like this kind of like people thought it was overrated and like he had a lot of haters kind of thing to now he's actually a veteran and really well respected in the league. He's a lot more mature and he's a family man. Like
Hmm.
he turned down all these contracts to go play in like LA and play for the Yankees because instead he wanted to play in a place that he could stay longer so that way it would be more stable for his family.
Mm-hmm.
So that one of his main reasons for playing in Philadelphia was so that he could have that stability for his family, which is really cool. And when he's quoted in General Conference, he talks about how like winning all these MVPs and all these awards and accolades has been fantastic, but it's my eternal marriage
Hmm.
that has brought me the most happiness in my life.
That was the quote.
That was
It,
I can
more or less.
I can read it exactly if we want. I have it pulled up.
What talk was it?
So this is April 2019 from Gary E. Stevenson. It's called Your Priesthood Playbook
Hmm.
in the priesthood session. And so there's a picture of him with his wife outside the temple. And it says, Bryce Harper, here as a husband, writes, I thought fame, fortune, and an MVP award, he would later go on to win another MVP award, would make me happy. Something was missing. So I prepared and entered the temple. I am now on a path to return to my Heavenly Father and have an eternal family, which is the greatest joy in the world.
Hmm.
Which I think is awesome. Like, as a kid who worshiped this guy, really liked this guy growing up, and hearing that from him in General Conference, like, I don't know, that hit home.
That's cool.
Really cool.
What position does he play?
He used to be an outfielder, and now he's a first baseman because he kept getting injured in the outfield. So
In the outfield, he kept getting injured.
he kept crashing into walls, going all out. But yeah,
I love that. You're dedicated to his craft.
oh, absolutely dedicated to his family and to his craft for sure, for sure.
So who else?
Who else? Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, I guess another really cool story. Also, I've read all these guys' autobiographies. Like, I love these guys.
Dang.
But I'm a little passionate. But so another one that my dad idolized growing up, there's a guy named Dale Murphy. He played for the Atlanta Braves and he also played for the Phillies a little bit towards the end of his career.
Another
But
baseball player.
another baseball player, another outfielder.
Hmm.
But yeah, played mostly for the Braves. He also won a couple MVP awards, but he wasn't born into the church or anything. But while he was in the minor leagues, a fellow player on one of his minor league teams, he just like saw him reading the Book of Mormon in the back of the bus. Just like went back and like talked to him about it, met with missionaries, got baptized, and he was like 18 or 19, just this young kid playing in the minor leagues. And he thought about dropping everything to go serve a mission. And he was like, okay, like I'll drop baseball, like I'll drop everything just to go serve. Cause he's like, I got baptized. Like, this is what I'm supposed to do. Like, he felt called to do it. And like talked with his bishop. His bishop was like, basically, he's like, it's your call. And he kind of got revelation that he should stay and kind of like fulfill out his ministry a different way. And so he went on to be had like incredible storied career, right? Really good baseball player, really great outfielder for the Braves for a long time. And he was known in the league, like, he was known for his good moral character. Everyone's like, Dale Murphy is the nicest guy on the planet, and he'll also hit baseballs 450 feet. Like,
Dang.
like it's really, really cool. And so my dad idolized him, like told me all the stories about him growing up. Still has like a Dylan Murphy jersey, Dylan Murphy signed ball, just like all this stuff. So really, really cool. And then after he retired, was still super active. He actually got called back to be a mission president in the Atlanta, Georgia mission, where he played baseball forever. And then he was a mission president there for a long time, or for 3 years. It was great. But yeah, so Dylan Murphy, awesome guy.
That's cool. I think the only thing I have to contribute to this conversation is that L. Tom Perry used to play football.
He did. He also played basketball.
Did he?
He was 6'3". He was big.
He's a giant.
He's a center.
Yeah.
Could be. So
for those who aren't familiar with L. Tom Perry, he was an apostle. He died probably 2015-ish. Something like that.
Around there. But
that's all I have to contribute.
He was a baller. Also, I mean, he's not a professional athlete, but I loved President Monson so much because of all of his baseball stories growing up. Like, I loved coming to General Conference and hearing President Monson talk about a baseball story because it just like, I don't know.
It's humanizing.
Exactly. He has like this talk called like your Hall of Fame where he talks about how like there's like Lou Gehrig and Babe Ruth in the Hall of Fame, but who's in your priesthood Hall of Fame? Like Nephi was in my priesthood Hall of Fame, and like talks about like all this stuff. And I don't know. Really cool. Love a good sports analogy. Okay, and then like a few more athletes just to throw out there, just because like I don't know, I feel like that was kind of worth a shout out. Obviously, right, you've got Steve Young, one of the greatest period quarterbacks of all time, won multiple Super Bowls, won MVPs with the 49ers. So really cool. Still active today, right? Awesome. Wrote a great book, published by Deseret Book. Andy Reid played for BYU back in the day and is now coach of the Kansas City Chiefs, has now won the Super Bowl a couple of times. He's getting a lot of hype right now because he's apparently the one who set up Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift.
Oh, really?
So that's what he said.
That's the lore?
That is the lore. That's what he's been quoted as saying. So,
I wonder, like, I would love to know the story behind that. Like, I wonder if he was like friends with Taylor Swift somehow and was like, hey, I want you to come meet this player. Or if he was like more friends with Travis and was like, I'm going to get in touch with this person's agent and see.
I think it was more of like he knew Travis was like kind of interested and he was like definitely kind of like pushing him to kind of like pursue that a little bit. I don't know the full story either.
I don't even know how things like that happen for like people of that level of fame.
But it is interesting. Like you don't just like bump into them at like, I don't know. I'm not going to speculate. But I don't know. Eternal marriage centered perhaps. Who knows?
The point is that for everybody that calls us a cult, we're among you. We're everywhere. We are the Amazon delivery guy dropping something off at your front door. We are the accountant doing your taxes. We're the Super Bowl team coach.
Yes, we're that too. And there's Jimmer Fredette.
Or you could just say we're normal people. Everyday normal people. It sounds a lot less ominous. Yeah, Jimmer, when I was in college, I'd hear his name all the time.
He took over, wait, when were you in college?
2013 to 2017.
Okay, because 2011 was the height of Jimmer.
Oh, okay.
So, and I'm sure it was still like percolating for like years afterwards. But yeah, 2011, Jimmer Fredette literally took over the country because he was the best scorer. Like literally, like widowy. He took over the country. Like you couldn't like go a day without hearing his name, without seeing his interview somewhere, without hearing like "Teach Me How to Jimmer." Great parody. It's a classic.
PTSD. It was so popular.
Oh my gosh, that was so long ago. It was 13 years. Anyways, yes. So Jimmer, great. Played in the Olympics. Got injured in his first game.
Oh.
Sad. But another fantastic, just family man, great example. Really awesome, still active LDS athlete. Really, really cool.
A lot of LDS Olympians in Paris this year, right?
They're like 13.
13? Was that the number?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
That's wild. A lot of Latter-day Saint athletes out there that are like doing great things and are just living their life, you know?
You love to see it.
Yeah, I think it's great. In my world, like with what I do on like Keystone, we're talking about church history and controversial stuff. And, you know, it's a lot about, you know, faith crisis and whatnot. But I think the majority of you know, active members are just like not worried about that stuff and are more worried about coming home with the title or the MVP or,
Mhm.
you know, things like that. And they're just like,
That was great vocabulary, by the way. Good job.
thank you. I went with what I was most confident in. Um, and they're just like, their religion is part of them. They're secure in it. Like they're
Mhm.
confident in it, at least a lot of the time. And they're just doing what they do.
Exactly. Just living their lives. They're just at the end of the day, they're just normal people like us who are incredibly skilled at what they do and are passionate about what they do, but they're just people.
Well, I have come away with a renewed appreciation for LDS athletes.
I'm so glad. In that case, like the purpose of this video has been achieved. Like
There you go.
we got one.
Yeah, you got one. You got one. Educate me in the comments, guys. I know I just opened myself up to like so much ridicule in this episode because I don't know anything from this world. So if there's anything I need to know, let me know in the comments. And while you're here, watch this other video that has popped up on the screen.
Thanks so much for being here. If you're an LDS athlete, follow me.